Well, bouncing from one ban to another now, Britain's strictest head teacher has hailed a High Court ruling backing her pupil prayer ban as a victory for all schools. This is Katherine Birbalsingh, who introduced the controversial rule in March last year. This was against a backdrop of what she described as violence, intimidation and racial harassment of staff. But the Michaela Community School soon found itself defending a legal challenge from a Muslim student who claimed the ban was discriminatory. In today's ruling, a judge called the prayer policy a proportionate means of achieving legitimate ends, adding it did not interfere with the pupils' freedom to religious beliefs. Taking to social media, Equalities Minister Kemi Badenoch welcomed the judgment, tweeting, "No pupil has the right to impose their views on an entire school community." The mother of the student who brought the legal challenge said she was profoundly dismayed by the case's outcome. I don't know why she was profoundly dismayed. It was always going to end like this. Common sense prevailed. In fact, it wasn't just common sense. I think, as Kemi Badenoch said, I mean, this is a school ruling. If the school says this is what you wear, this is what we do, this is how we function, this is how we educate, anyone that sent their kid to that school, which is a sought-after place of education, knew all of this beforehand. So you can't suddenly go in and say, it's a bit like when they say, well, we want the right to wear makeup or we want the right to do this. There's no ban. You've got your private religion. You can do that. It just doesn't conflict with school.
I think the reason the parent was dismayed by it is because we've seen so many other aspects across British society where where similar cases where actually other people have won. And what we class as a British culture, as a British rule, has been cast to one side. And it's a case of you can't say this about this protected group or that group because then you're deemed a racist or Islamophobic or anti-Semitic.
So she was surprised.
She was surprised, yeah. That's what I think.
Yeah, could have been that.
But you're exactly right. The school's rules are the school's rules. Remember we did a story a few months ago about a school saying that they're going to let girls have fake eyelashes because so many of them must take them off school to get them removed and stuff. It's because of things like that this woman is thinking, we can get away with this.
If they can do the eyelashes, surely they can do the prayers.
Exactly.
But I think there are a couple of other interesting things about this story, which are that if you have a look at the rules which have been imposed by the headmistress, who I think is an extraordinary lady, having met her on so many occasions, you know, she's tough. But on the other hand, that is the reason that you send your child to that school. You can always remove your child if it doesn't suit you. But what she was saying is that there's no way that the school day is going to be disrupted because of one individual, and these are the school rules. And it applies to everybody. And I think if something applies to everybody across the board, then I think that's fair and reasonable. And if you and your religious beliefs really don't think that that's acceptable or what you want to do, then by all means, go to a faith school, go and do something else which accommodates what you want to do. But also, this is the parent imposing on the child. And, you know, where is the child who has probably been indoctrinated in some shape or form actually expressing their view on this? This shouldn't be the parent who has nothing to do with, how that child is manifesting.
The child was suspended from school for speaking rudely to the teachers there, for not allowing them to have a prayer room.
And also, Birbalsingh, her point is that it's disruptive for other students. You can't have students moving around the school unattended. You can't have hundreds of them trying to go and do these prayer meetings. And actually, her results speak for themselves. I mean, she is strict, she has courage, she has integrity, she has principles. She's brave enough to stand up for them. And they're getting the results. And as you say, the Michaela Community School is super sought after.
It is. I went
it works.
when I was looking at schools and met her, you know, as a parent rather than as a journalist. And it was deeply impressive. And what JJ said, you know, it wasn't just one kid that this, you know, there was one kid that the court case was about, but it had started to mushroom. And, you know, more and more kids were saying, you know, well, if he or she, you know, wants to go and do prayers at a certain time of day, so do we. And we've seen that at schools and in other institutions where something like this, if you don't clamp down on it very, very fast, you know, all the sort of bolshy kids, and I was one of them, you know, all the bolshy kids will start joining in and saying, yes, you know, I have these deep religious beliefs, when actually they don't.
But
isn't this
the social contagion that we've seen around the trans issue, where then people start choosing other identities? And I know we can laugh at people saying they're cats or dinosaurs or whatever, but it's this kind of thing. Well, if you can identify as this... If you can identify as this, because we haven't clamped down on it and said, come on, common sense, you're not actually a cat, you're not actually a boy, you're not a...
But it's really simple, isn't it? It's really easy. I mean, this is a school, not a church or a synagogue or a mosque. And as James said, if you want to go to a faith school, there are plenty of faith schools you can go to. Every person that was lucky enough to get into a really good school like that knew beforehand that this was their policy. There was no big surprise. They didn't suddenly say, oh, by the way, kids, I know you thought you were going to go to your prayer meeting. We banned them from Tuesday. That didn't happen. This was already the case.
And it's not just with the Muslim kids. There are Christian kids at the same school saying, we can't do a vision on Sundays because that's our day of rest. And Birbalsingh said, well, you can, and it's that or it's nothing. If you do your vision on those days for your Test on Monday, or you find another school. It's blanket across everyone.
And I think that is the right way to deal with it. And I think, you know, making harsh decisions, but as long as those decisions do apply to all and they're fair and they're reasonable, as you say, you know the rules, you know what applies, you know what the school is achieving. And actually, those results, as you correctly say, Emma, those results speak for themselves. And ultimately, there are some compromises which we're going to have to make. And when you hear all this wishy-washy nonsense about, you know, this is what we're going to do to schools and we've got to take apart the fee-paying school business and we've got to take away the selected schools and all this sort of stuff, and everybody must have the same opportunity. Yeah, have the same opportunity. But by the way, put in some of these measures because they work. And if they work, then you should really be applying them across the board and across the school system to give every child the greatest chance and the greatest opportunity.
It's bizarre that, you're right, Collins, it's bizarre that this even was taken to court. My Catholic school, we let in about 10% people who weren't Catholic, but the rule was everyone has to go to Mass on a Wednesday. Whether you're Catholic or not, you attend Mass on Wednesday. There's no getting out of it.
It's the same principle,
Same principle,
in reverse.
exactly.
That's what you sign up for.
Yeah.
When you join that school.
Yeah, absolutely.